No mail today, maybe tomorrow. started here in a second. Thank you everyone that is watching at home. Hope you all are having a wonderful day and are ready to listen to an awesome speaker talk about his long tenured career in the IT field. Stop sharing my screen real quick so we can get back on track here. So thank you everyone that's joined us today. My name is Will Markham, along with my coworker, Ayana Wheeler, and we are joined today by another coworker, Cody Garrison, who's here to talk to us today about the IT field and his role within quality assurance. And he will kind of touch on that later. But if you have any questions, students, scroll down on your YouTube channel. There will be a Google form in the description. Use that, ask any questions, and when Cody's done, I'll get to your questions and we'll get them asked and answered. So Cody, you are free to take it away.
All right, thank you, Will, and thank you for having me today. I've got a presentation here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. As soon as it's ready.
Should be good now.
Okay, excellent. Okay, one moment. Okay. All right, there we are. Everybody see my screen okay? Excellent. All right. Well, thank you all for attending, whoever is out there in the audience. Today I'm going to discuss quality assurance with you all. Again, my name is Cody Garrison, and I currently work at K20 in the game-based learning department. Some of the things I'm going to discuss with you today are going to be what quality assurance is, a brief biography about myself, work history, kind of how I've done QA in the past, talk about my current QA job, some examples of work, different QA career fields, education, national salaries, a little bit of additional information, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So what is quality assurance? According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, they describe quality assurance as a program for the systematic monitoring and evaluation of the various aspects of a project, service, or facility to ensure that standards of quality are being met. So basically that is just to say that quality assurance is making processes, products, improvements, making everything better. It's a very generalized field. You can use quality assurance in many, many different areas from manufacturing. It's very prolific in software and on and on and on. All right, so a little bit about myself. I spent 20 years in the military, and a lot of the different roles that I performed while in had to do with quality assurance. When I started out, I started off on aircraft maintenance, and there's the aircraft in front of you. And as you can see, the depiction on the right, there's lots of components in there. There's lots of buttons, software, all kinds of things like that. So a lot of the stuff I did was to ensure this aircraft could operate safely. I would repair these parts, monitor personnel that would go in and do these processes and make sure that they were adhering to standards, regulations, things were correctly taken care of so that the safety of flight was ensured. And after that, from maintenance, I moved on to flying an aircraft. So I was a flight engineer, started off on C-130s, and they would haul around lots of cargo and things of that nature. You can see an airdrop on your left. But the pictures you see there, again, there's the flight crew station and there's an overhead panel. So that was kind of like my office. So it's kind of like overwhelming to look at to see how many moving parts there are there. And again, kind of same role. My job responsibilities were to go out and spend basically an hour on this aircraft doing quality assurance, ensuring that every component was operating, that the engines would function. I mean, there's many, many, many moving parts to an aircraft. So a lot of quality assurance doing that. Additionally, I was a trainer, instructor, and evaluator. So not only would I inspect aircraft and make sure that they would correctly operate, I would also watch and train personnel so that they knew the standards, regulations, the procedures, so they could operate these aircraft in a safe manner additionally. So again, quality assurance is very broad, and that's how I utilize it a lot in the military as a flight engineer. And the last little section of my career, I moved on to AWACS, which is actually based out here in Oklahoma City. And I performed a flight engineer role again. And you can kind of see a control panel on the right. Again, lots of moving parts, working with air crew, ensuring that they are all correctly utilizing their checklist, running all the procedures, checking the systems. Anything goes wrong, I would be kind of the subject matter expert as to what we should do to fix it. And again, really enforcing quality assurance when it comes to, are we correctly using the standards, not deviating, because again, flying is pretty significant. You can't make too many bad mistakes. It's not like your car where you can pull over on the side of the road and take care of it when you're in flight. So anyways, there's some good experience with quality assurance for sure. And I mean, I spent 20 years in the military, so there's a lot of other departments I bounced around, got a lot of good knowledge, anything from training, scheduling, as like I just mentioned, testing and evaluations, flight records, flight and ground safety, certifying officials. So a lot of that had to really was focused around individuals and how we operate, regardless of whether I was being a flight engineer or whether I was in training, scheduling. There's plenty of standards that need to be upheld and implemented correctly. So all of that really centered, bringing that back to quality assurance. And since the military, I've been so fortunate to work for OU. I've been with OU for over a year now, and I started out with Center of Public Management, and I was working with the state of Oklahoma's Child Welfare Services, and they had a proprietary software. So I was a quality assurance control tester for them. So I would go in and make sure that different field agents around the state could go in and access the programs would work correctly. They would push new software updates and things of that nature. And after working with them for a while, I was able to move up, and now I get to reside at K-20, which is a fantastic place, and I get to play with video games. So, I mean, how cool is that? Everybody loves video games. So at Game-Based Learning Department, I am the quality assurance lead, and there's a lot of different things that go into that. Sometimes it's video games, sometimes we mess with websites, and there's all kinds of different aspects where I'm able to implement quality assurance and carry it out effectively. So some of the QA daily responsibilities, one of the things I do is track the progress of our current projects. To do that with my QA job is really kind of tech heavy. So we use different software. Specifically, we use Jira that helps us manage the projects and keep an idea of where they are at certain stages, so that at end result, we can produce this video game. And there's lots of things like collaborating with other departments. There's many tasks that have to be created and carried out with a software suite so that all the personnel knows what things they need to be working on. And there's evaluations for games. We do a lot of error checking, identifying errors. Definitely attention to detail is a big aspect of the job, and documenting so that any user could go in and say, hey, what is wrong with this thing? Figure out what's wrong with it, hand it off, gets fixed, and then we test it again. So it's it's a very exciting and interesting job. No 2 days are the same. There's always something new to find. And again, detailed reports and discrepancies, that's definitely a paramount part of the job that I perform. Some of the tools that we use, definitely project management software. We use Jira. I mean, all organizations are a little bit different, but basically it's just a software package that allows everybody to kind of have eyes on what our end goal is for creating this game, like where it's at in the development stages and how we're going to get it there. Additionally, a lot of things that we use in QA, and like any tech field, is going to be a project management software often, and then there's going to be the whole gamut of the Microsoft suite. We'll be using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, MS Teams, Collaborate, and other tools. And also, you have to have access to the databases in games in order to correctly do all the documentation and checking on these things. So for QA, some of the skills and knowledge, most quality assurance jobs require usually a bachelor's degree or higher, although you can get into the field with an associate's degree. Now, just like most things, the more education you have, the more skills you're going to have. So it opens up doors for the job market in general. But by and large, usually associates, bachelor's, master's, you can do well in the quality assurance field. And again, there's a lot of stuff that's, like I said, it's very tech heavy for most of the quality assurance jobs, but it could be anything from healthcare to, like I said, manufacturing. It just goes kind of on and on. And some of the normal day-to-day routines, like I said, really got to have good attention to detail, because you are the one going in trying to make sure that whatever we have created actually operates effectively and works well, and that no end user is going to end up experiencing problems. Because the worst thing you want is for someone to go in, have a bad experience, and then say, well, this thing doesn't work, and then nobody wants to use it anymore. So we strive to make things the best, as good as possible. So there's attention to detail. There's a lot of normal things I'm doing. We would go in and make test cases and test plans so that we can carry out our testing, because you have to, anything you're going to do in life, you have to have a good solid plan to start with. And then it just goes down and builds from there. So we have our plans, how we're going to do our testing. We create the tools we're going to use for testing. We use our whatever software tools outside of that that we can use as well. And then a lot of things in quality assurance you'll hear, especially with software, is identifying what we call bugs, which is just a software issue. Anything you find, say you go to open up a web browser, type into the search bar, and it doesn't work correctly. So then that would be identified as a bug. It'd be given a number, and then we could track it, fix it, move it on down the line, and verify that it actually works well. And it's very important, especially in quality assurance, like most jobs you're going to have in any career field, is that you're a good team player. You got to have strong communication skills. And I mean, essentially you're always working with people. One thing specifically in quality assurance is that you're the one, someone's going in and spending countless hours building this thing, and you go in and find that there's an issue. So you always want to convey that as best as you can. And here are some work examples. This is like a test case. So one of the things we would often use is going to be Microsoft Excel. It's a very powerful tool. You can use it in many different ways, but this is just kind of a quick example of discussing, how we do our planning. We'll go in and create these test cases so that we know exactly what has been built into the game, the website, the web app, whatever we happen to be testing, so we can go in and do basically creating a checklist. So we go line by line, inspecting everything, usability, functionality, and etc. So that's just kind of a quick example. And you could see, like in this specific example, there's two that are marked as like failed, and then we would go through and document the process. And additionally, here's some Jira. This is our project management software. This is where we actually go in and we would start the video game or whatever we're working on and start documenting, okay, here's an issue that we find, and we just kind of move it down the line from here's an issue identified. Okay, the issue is going to be worked. Is it fixed? Once it's fixed, we'll take a look at it, verify that it has been fixed. If it doesn't work correctly, then we'll go back through the entire process again until we have made sure that we have no more issues or discrepancies with whatever we happen to be working on. And over on the right is, again, kind of an example of what a write-up would look like. So often we'll go in and make it very well documented so that any general user could understand what we're trying to say. There's screenshots, pictures are always highly valuable, and very, very thorough details as to what we are finding and what we're expecting to happen. Here's some more work examples, kind of like I was giving an explanation, for example, typing into a search bar. So on a specific item, what we were doing is we should be able to type into a search bar and it should pull up what it's doing. Instead, we would type in here and it would not pull the appropriate information. So any small things like this is just an example of what a bug would be. Is basically when something doesn't function in the manner that it was developed to do. Now for QA career fields and education, These are some examples that are pulled off of like monster.com. There's also Indeed, there's Glassdoor, there's lots and lots of resources. Anybody wants to do a basic Google search, they can find out loads of information about QA, about salaries, about jobs in Oklahoma, national jobs. But for example, I pulled this one out so you could all see it. And for most QA careers, candidates must have at least a degree in higher national diploma. There are certifications and other organizations that you can also get quality assurance certification from, but it's always great to have a degree. Now also says those are interested in working in quality assurance may want to take courses and focus their education in subjects such as business management, food sciences, technology, process engineering, chemistry, production, engineering, or a textile technology. And again, these are just to name a few. Like I said, quality assurance is really broad and you can basically apply it to almost all corners of life. Like any job, anything you do, you can basically apply quality assurance to it. Now, when it comes to QA career salaries, of course, this is just an example of a national average. It's always going to vary. Based on your experience, based on your background, and based on your education. And again, when it comes to the salaries and education, it's going to be dependent from state to state. Some states, they pay much higher than others. And again, this is just a national average. But those working in computer quality assurance, for example, usually earn annual average of about $52,000 a year, and quality assurance managers earns on average of about $67,000 a year. Now, of course, this candidates that have certain skills or expertise or experience in other software suites, this can, of course, pay more. It can pay less. And again, even like in any engineering field, those are also very good for high paying salaries and quality assurance as well. So again, those are just a few examples. And anybody that wants to pursue quality assurance, you always want to have a background on what you're doing. So if you're trying to do quality assurance in like the healthcare profession, then you would want to have knowledge and training in healthcare, and perhaps, associate's, bachelor's, master's, doctorate in healthcare, and then also get some certification or working knowledge of QA so you can move into that field as well. So you always want to kind of align it with whatever career that you plan to pursue. And there's also some additional information here. Quality assurance there's an international standard organization, which is known as the ISO. So it's probably more information than you want to know. But anyways, anyone's welcome to Google. You can find out loads of information about quality assurance through their national accredited organization. And they've got loads of information on certifications, on just general information like about what quality assurance is, how you can apply it to any fields out there. Companies, specifically that second one where it talks about ISO 9001, says quality management systems, standards for companies and organizations of any size, which is very true. It could be, you could have a cheese shop down the corner, or you could be Google or Microsoft, running thousands of individuals and then performing QA on a very large scale. So it adheres to all sizes. And last, there's ISO 9004, which is quality management and its guidance to achieve sustained success for an organization. And again, there's going to be different iterations and changes as quality assurance continues to evolve with all the different career fields and industry in the United States and abroad. So this is a very quick overview of quality assurance. And again, just kind of talked briefly about what quality assurance is, kind of a brief biography and a work history, current QA job, examples of work, QA career fields, education, national salaries, additional information. Again, didn't want to take up too much time. So that really opens us up to questions. Hopefully there are some good questions and additional information. Trying to think of anything I really missed. Again, a lot of my background, I I performed quality assurance in many different roles in the 20 years I served in the military. So after I separated, I was very excited about education. That's one thing that I for 4 years of my career, I got to work within a unit where we did training. So we were accredited by the Air Force, the Community College of the Air Force, and we got to teach individuals. And I really enjoyed training. So that's really what kind of led me on the path to work at OU. I like being in education, and QA kind of followed me from before. So